All right. So I'll pop into the presentation in a minute. Um, I tried to use Streamlabs to do this, but it did not want to work. Sorry if this is really loud. Let me turn that down a bit. This used to be my old streaming setup before I got Streamlabs, but Streamlabs doesn't want to work with me with recording, so this will have to do. Okay. I'm gonna give a presentation and then I'm gonna upload it. Yeah. So we'll see how this goes. Not something I've actually really talked about on YouTube, at least. So this will be fun. Okay. Um, how do I? No, let me escape. Slideshow. Yay. Okay. All right. So this is just how I've felt. How I've changed, how I've grown throughout the years and such. Hopefully this won't take longer than 15 minutes because if it does, then I'll have to cut the recording somehow. All right. Feelings on Gender by Adrian LC. I'm not going to give you my entire last name because why not? Also, it's not my real last name. Haha. So this is just my past. This is just covering what I have realized over the years. So I've always known that I'm not female. I'm going to be reading out basically what's on the presentation screen because I wrote it so that I don't have to think. I've always known that I'm not female, or at the very least, I knew that I didn't want to be a girl. The farthest back that I can remember for sure, where I had a very specific thought, is probably when I was about 7ish, and I walked in on one of my male friends peeing in the bathroom. Obviously, I backpedaled quickly and was embarrassed, as most people are when they walk in on someone peeing, or going to the bathroom, or taking a dump, or showering. But I distinctly remember thinking, I wish I could do that. That being have a penis. The peeing part, the peeing standing up part, that was just a bonus afterthought that I realized later. um, I didn't really have a name for it at the time. I wasn't exactly sheltered, but it just wasn't something that my father and I talked about a lot. Though he's also open minded. It's just not something I knew about. All I really knew was that I kind of wanted to be a boy and do boy things. But like I said, I didn't really have a concept of gender identity, so I just assumed that I was a tomboy, which is what most of the adults in my life would call me when I explained not wanting to like the girl things and wanting to be able to do the boy things. I mean, I would still wear dresses and wanted to play dolls or whatever. I didn't really play dolls as a kid, though. I colored. I didn't have a lot of friends. Well, I didn't have a lot of friends for about 2 years, but then I had some close friends, which were great. I just acted like and wanted to be more boyish than most of the girls my age did. Definitely more than my friends at the time did. Um, they all were definitely tomboys, or at least one of them was, but we didn't really talk about that kind of stuff because we didn't really have an idea for it, a concept for it. Um, yeah, very slightly more recent past. When I hit middle school, that's when I think I realized more that I wasn't exactly completely female or female identifying. Around that time, I also realized that I like girls, as well as guys. I don't think there was a specific incident, at least not one that I can remember, that made me think or realize that I was definitely probably not female. Just that in elementary school, I had cut my hair into a pixie cut to seem cuter. That's what I told. I think I told my mom at the time that I wanted to seem cuter, or I wanted to have shorter hair because it was too hard to manage. Um, but in actuality, I knew that it would make me look more masculine, even though I didn't know what masculine was. I knew that it would make me look more like a boy, and I wanted that. But then my whole life was flipped upside down when I hit sixth grade, and there were quite a few boys at the school who had shoulder length hair at least. And then I was like, oh my gosh, that's a thing that I can do. I can be a boy. I could be a boy and have long hair. Obviously, if I grew out my hair, especially then, I would seem like a girl still. But it was the start of my realization of, hey, maybe I don't have to be stuck being what other people think I am. A bit more recently, in my second and third years of middle school, I was in a much more close-minded, at least to me, it was honestly probably about the same general same latitude as my previous town, southern town. And I met someone, I met my friend, who was my safe haven on all things gender and sexuality. This person helped me explore and understand so many things I had no clue about previously. We'll just call this person G. If you're watching this, if I share it with you, then you absolutely know who you are. In fact, I'd be surprised if you didn't. G was amazing. This person showed me so many things that I had no clue about before meeting them. I knew that gay was a thing vaguely, but I had no clue that there were so many names for not being your assigned gender at birth. I think the only reason I knew gay was a thing was through talking with my dad. I feel like in we went to a group meeting, like an atheist group meeting or a Democrat group meeting or something, and there was somebody there who was gay. And my dad also had some work friends who were gay. They were I didn't know the term for lesbian at the time, but they were married and they had a son. And I thought that was the coolest thing, and also to me because my dad didn't make it different or anything. I was like, oh, that's cool. I could do that someday. I could marry somebody. I could marry another woman because at the time I thought I was a girl. I didn't really realize that I wasn't completely female. Like I knew a little bit, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm a guy for sure. You'll see as I go on. So in middle school, I created a new persona for myself. His name was Vincent. Is still kind of Vincent. I didn't settle on that for my chosen name, but he still lives on in my head as a character in the stories that I write. Uh, he's got many other friends as well in my head. um, he was based off of Castiel from the TV show Supernatural because that's what G and I were watching. And we both loved Supernatural. And I also didn't realize that just because it was a new name, it didn't have to be a new me. I later figured that out, but it took a bit. But because of that, I forced myself to act more like the character, to be more masculine and gruff and offstandish, because I arbitrarily decided that he was the peak example of masculinity. I think I probably also had a crush on him, which didn't help my self identity crisis at all. I mean, struggling with the fact that you're realizing you might not be female and you still like guys, does that mean that you're gay? And then I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. I didn't like the name. Like I liked the name, but it didn't feel right for me. So then I was like, okay. So I like the name Vincent, but it doesn't feel right for me. So maybe it's just me not liking my own name. Maybe I just don't like my given name. So I created what would eventually become Vincent's twin sister in my stories, Vira. I liked her too, but she also became a persona that I put on rather than just being myself. This happened quite a few more times before I get to my current and hopefully final chosen name, which is Adrian, as you saw on the front of the presentation. I then started, I mean, I did this a little bit before, but it was when I started going back and forth on names that I really started exploring more of Tumblr for information on what I was feeling. so many terms popped up. I had never heard of half of these. Transgender, non-binary, gender fluid, agender, MTF, FTM, trans woman, trans man, transitioning, testosterone, estrogen, HRT, top surgery, bottom surgery, voice training, cross-dressing, and slurs. So many slurs. I honestly, I feel like at the beginning I probably misused some slurs thinking that they were actual terms. Uh, and then I was quickly corrected by the Tumblr community, and I was like, oh, sorry, dude. I'm not actually 13, so I really shouldn't be on here, but I'm not going to tell you that, so I'm just going to pretend that I'm oblivious and have been sheltered my whole life, and that's why I don't know that that was a slur. I had no clue what all of these words meant. I knew some of them, but most of them, no clue. But I definitely wanted to learn. Um, I soon settled on my first identity, the first identity I decided to go with. I decided I was transgender. I also decided that I was bisexual around the same time because I realized that, oh, I still like boys, but I also like girls. Honestly, I think I had a bit of a sexuality crisis at much younger than that, but I decided to put it off for then because I was already struggling with figuring out my gender, and I was like, nope, can't handle two at the same time, can't do it. And so those two terms were what I kept for quite a few years. Then I decided that I was gender fluid because I discovered that term recently, and it seemed to sum up me wanting to be a guy, but also wear girl stuff and also wear guy stuff and be both. And so I was like, okay, I'm gender fluid. And I was like, no, no, I'm back to being trans. I was like, no, I'm gender fluid again. Obviously, if I've gone back and forth on it, I'm obviously gender fluid, right? Because I'm going back and forth. And then I decided, no, no, I'm non binary. I'm neither one. I'm nothing. I'm just in the middle. I'm not assigned to the gender binary. And yeah, it just kept changing a lot. I mean, there's more in between there than just those, but those were the big ones that stayed the longest. And yeah, so it changed as I grew and I changed and I learned more about myself. My sexuality has also changed quite a few times and still is, honestly. Uh, I'm still not completely sure. Honestly, I just say I'm pan at this point because it's a lot easier than going, I don't know, and I don't really care about gender. So if I like the person, that's who I want to be with. So yeah. um, I now come to my most recent crisis, and my entire point for making this PowerPoint. Um, I think I'm trans. I'm pretty sure I'm trans. I might be trans. I'm trans. I've gone back and forth on what I am or what I perceive myself as for years at this point. And I think I figured out what kept changing with how I was feeling. I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin, but I still wanted to dress feminine, and I felt like a girl, and I had, yeah, messed up that. Wow. I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin, but I still wanted to dress as feminine and feel like a girl and have boobs and such. But at the same time, I didn't. I hated having boobs and having a vagina and having periods and being seen as a girl and being called she, her, and being called my given name. I just didn't like it. And I didn't know why. And I was very conflicted. And I also kind of felt guilty for going back and forth and causing my family so much effort in trying to keep up with everything I was feeling and a new label every few months, every year. um, and so now I have realized why I didn't like it, but also did at the same time. And it's because I still wanted to dress up in women's clothing and wear things that boosted my bust and act feminine. But at the same time, I didn't want to be seen as a woman doing these things. I wanted to still be perceived as a guy with he, him pronouns and my chosen name, but still be able to dress as a woman. I wanted to wear makeup and dresses and have boobs, but also at the end of the day, I wanted to be able to remove said boobs. I didn't want them for good, just temporarily. I didn't want to be perceived as a woman. I wanted to be seen as a guy who was cross-dressing as a woman. Which I think I mentioned in the next slide. I do. Okay, cool. I made this like 10 minutes ago, but I haven't actually read through it. The issue is that if I come out as being a trans guy, a trans man, whatever, and say that I want he, him pronouns and I wear a binder half the time, and then I decide I want to cross dress, because if I was assigned male at birth, then that's what it'd be called. It wouldn't just be me dressing normally for somebody assigned female at birth, it would be cross dressing because I'd be a man. I would be seen as confused or questioning or faking or as a woman. And I just struggle to communicate that. I struggle to communicate that, hey, I want to be a guy, but I like dresses, I like skirts, I like makeup, but I like them as a guy, not as a girl. I don't want to be called she, her. I want to be called he, him, and still be able to wear dresses and skirts and makeup and still know that you see me as a guy. It's just a guy that wears skirts. And yeah, so I'm just a guy. I'm a guy who wants to wear dresses and makeup, but not be a woman when doing it, but be seen as just a guy who just likes women's clothing sometimes. It's just really hard to explain and frustrating too, especially when it's something that I've struggled. Wow, typo. I thought I caught that. Wow. Man, that's like the first typo that I've had. Wait, do I have any more? Doesn't look like I have any more typos, but I'm pretty sure Google should have caught that. I've sturgled. I've sturgled. Sorry, it's just a funny typo. It's something I've struggled with describing. Sorry, it's something I've struggled with describing for years. Um, and now that I've like actually kind of figured out that I am trans, not even like addressing the cross-dressing part, just the fact that I've decided, oh, hey, I am trans. Anytime I bring it up in conversation, um, I've got people left and right telling me, wait, what if you change your mind? And that's a permanent choice. That is getting my boobs chopped off. And what if you want kids someday? Well, the answer to those statements and questions are as follows. No, I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait for somebody else's approval. Fuck that. Um, yes, I know it's a permanent choice. There's a thing called breast forms. If I want boobs, and I can just slip them on, and lo and behold, I will have boobs. Magic. And with the kids, there's a thing called adoption. It's something that I wanted to do for about a decade now. Like even before I knew that I wanted to be a guy, like I wanted to adopt instead of having kids of my own. And there's also test tube babies and surrogates, and if I absolutely desperately wanted somebody, a child that was of my own DNA or whatever, I could always do that. So, and then, yeah, so this, I was going to actually originally make a whole separate PowerPoint on this, but then I was like, I addressed it enough times in this PowerPoint that I should just do it all in one go. So a final thing that I discovered is my own attraction to others. I have crushes on men and women both. When I picture myself with a man or a woman, whether it's in a sexual or platonic relationship way, like whether it's a sexual interaction or a QPR or whatever, I'm always a guy. I always see myself as a guy. I'm always a physically male person. I have a dick, I have no boobs, etc., etc. When I was younger, I used to read a lot of slash fiction or slash fan fiction. And before realizing my gender identity, partially due to Tumblr, I was always worried that I was fetishizing or objectifying gay men because that's a topic that is often on Tumblr about how straight women tend to fetishize and romanticize gay men and gay men's relationships and sexual interactions as being different or other and hotter than normal sexual interactions between a straight couple. And so I was always worried that I was objectifying gay men by wanting to read that and only that, even if it didn't have any sex in it. I now realize that was because how I wanted to be with a man. So, of course, that's what I was drawn to. And then when I was reading straight relationships or even just normal books in media or whatever, I always tended to pick books that had a guy's point of view, a male protagonist, and a male protagonist sometimes having a romantic love interest with a woman. I always found it more comfortable and relatable than your normal female starring adventure romance love triangle books. Um, Unless it was a love triangle that had all of the triangle interacting in a relationship. Now that I probably would have been okay with, but you don't find polyamorous relationships in media that often. Anyways, the closing statement is just I just wanted to get all of this off my chest. It's been bothering me, boiling up in me for a while, like months, probably years at this point. Um, and I just had to tell somebody, internet or not. I'm open to any comments, questions, or concerns, except not really. I am open to questions only. Most of the time, comments or concerns that I get when I talk to people about this are shitty, close minded, and probably something I've heard before, such as the previously offered examples on the previous slide. Unless you are a trans person offering advice, please keep your opinions to yourself. Um, if your questions are about God, therapy, sinning, religion at all, my parents' ability to parent me, sex, or my ability to reproduce, keep it to yourself. Hopefully, with that list, you are able to take it and understand what else you should not say. Um, yeah, so that's all. I just wanted to talk about it, get it out there, and see if there's anybody else like me, and if not, show anybody else that's younger that hey, uh, things change, your opinions change. Don't be freaked out if you think you know what you are or what you're attracted to, and all of a sudden one day that changes and your entire life is shifted. Don't let it make your life shift. Just go, hey, it's okay. Things change, opinions change. I'm growing, I'm changing. Humans do that all the time. It's normal, dude. It's normal. Just chill. It's fine. People change, so do you. All right. Now how to end this? Okay. Uh, yeah. So that was way longer than 15 minutes. But I'm not gonna cut it. I'll just see if I can post 15 longer videos. Whatever. English speaking. I've talked a lot, and I don't talk a lot recently, so I'm gonna go. Bye bye. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Comments are also welcome as long as they are not among any of the uh, previously mentioned no topics. Bye bye.